All right, here we go. Well, hello, DCO Nation. Welcome back to another chat tonight. Steve, Russell, good to see you. Glad you guys made it in. You guys are my regulars, and nice to know that you guys are still out there and following this old face right here. You can see that I shaved this morning, so yeah, you guys got to look at this old mug tonight. But guys, we have a special guest on tonight, and let me get the screen up. I would like to welcome Captain Bob. Bob, how are you doing tonight?
Oh, hello, DCO. How are you guys tonight?
Man, I tell you what, this is going to be a little bit different. So I'm not going to
Yep.
dive into it quite yet, but Captain Bob has a radio show on, and it is On the Hook with Captain Bob, and Saturday mornings. And I tell you what, you don't need to hear it from me. Why don't you tell them about your radio show and
I'd love
maybe
to.
something new that's coming up?
Absolutely. I'd absolutely love to. Well, first off, thank you for inviting me on DCO Live. Chris, I don't want to say that I was a little disappointed that I wasn't the first guest. Who do I have to know? Who do I need to send an email to about
Yeah, yeah. My administrator's out there having a glass of wine, so I'm sure she'll be more than happy to shag that for you.
There you go. Okay, thank you. I just want to make sure I get that point across. But anyway, as you know, as a frequent guest on our airwaves, our show, On the Hook with Captain Bob, is broadcast up and down the Carolina coast on 3 radio stations Saturday morning at 8 a.m. And we're very excited about that. And because of great guests like yourself, we have now become the fastest growing show, outdoor show in the Carolinas. So thank you, Chris, for being such a great guest for our radio program.
Well, I tell you what, it's been a ball, and I really appreciate you reaching out. Gosh, it's probably been, has it been a year? I don't know if it's been quite a year yet, but we're probably pushing that.
Yeah,
But
right.
no, it's been fantastic. You're to have somebody, just a YouTuber that's not used to speaking in front of people, and then you make it very easy to engage in the conversation and get rolling and be very comfortable, especially on the radio, because you're always a little bit nervous, and when we're having our conversation, I am outside on my driveway walking around. I don't know if I ever told you that or not, but
Oh
I'm one
my
of those
God.
guys that I have to walk when I'm on the phone. So that's what I'm doing when we're chatting. So, but
Well, honestly, I'm glad you're not on the phone here then.
yeah,
That would
yeah,
be awkward.
yeah, exactly, exactly. But no, Captain Bob has some fantastic guests on. George Poveromo,
Yeah.
Captain Moss with the Captain's Log. If you watch
Yeah.
Waypoint TV, which I have been watching for, gosh, probably the last 6 months, Captain Bob has got me hooked on that show, and it's just a fantastic. I know you guys probably listen to Captain Bob on Saturdays, but why don't you tell us about a new venture that's coming up? And I want these guys to find out about this, because all of these guys who are on the chat right now, they're avid outdoorsmen, they're fishermen, so I'm sure they'll probably be pretty excited about this news.
Yeah, well, Chris, I appreciate the opportunity. Actually, we will be breaking this news right here. So we have not even had an opportunity to break this news on our own radio station yet. But with help of the show, well, we're going to go ahead and do that right now. So I am very excited to announce that our show, On the Hook with Captain Bob, will be one of the keystone shows on the Outdoor Radio Network, which is set to launch September 30th on iHeartRadio. So this is going to be a nationwide launch. There are shows from all the way across the country, hunting shows, fishing shows, just about everything you can ask for in the outdoor world. And this will be America's first live radio station that is dedicated 24/7 to outdoor shows, news, and entertainment. And it's almost like I read that from the script.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I tell you what, that is.
This is going to be a game changer for the industry. We have nothing like that. This will be the CNN for the outdoor world, or the ESPN
That
for
you
the
beat
outdoor
me
world.
to it. That's exactly what I was going to say. I think it's like the ESPN for outdoors. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep. And it's set to launch to, well, over 167 million registered subscribers right now on iHeartRadio. So you can pull up iHeartRadio right now and go to Outdoor Radio Network. There's only one live radio station that has anything to do with the outdoors, and it's going to be ORN. And you'll be able to find it nice and easy. So everybody that's watching, I'll go ahead and wait. We'll do it together. We'll go ahead and pull up the iHeartRadio. You can go right now to Outdoor Radio Network, or even ORN, or just type in outdoors, and it'll get you right there on iHeartRadio.
That's
September 30th. But there's better news. Our show will go from 1 day a week to airing 5 days a week, at a minimum 5 days a week. I know we're going to have some special blocks in there. We may do a captain's quarter with a couple of other captain shows, possibly a Sweet Carolina Sunday show. Who knows? But some things are in the works for that. But we will certainly have plenty of exposure on the new platform.
Man, that is fantastic. So you're going to be live 5 days a week. It's not going to be reruns or anything into the past. You're not going to be replaying.
No, it is going to be. They're going to replay the show. So the show will go live. A new episode will go live. For example, ours might go live Monday at 10, and then it will replay maybe Tuesday at 1, Wednesday at 3, Thursday at 5, and then put into certain blocks throughout the week. But there will be a new episode that airs every week, and of course we'll announce that what day and what time it is, and it will be regular. It will be at the same time every week.
Fantastic.
Yep.
Fantastic.
And I think they kind of took a page from World Fishing Network, Waypoint TV, if you will, where you're going to see the new episodes that air Sunday at 1, and then they're going to replay throughout the week. And I believe they formatted the platform in that way so they could give maximum exposure to all of the hosts in what is called the drive time. And I'm an angler, right? I don't know anything about radio, and well, I guess maybe for the last 2 years, yes, but that drive time, wait, let me take that back. Midday. See, I don't even know. It's called midday. So the midday time, 10 o'clock to 3 o'clock, is kind of the sweet spot for radio. And they're going to give the hosts an opportunity for all of the hosts to be featured in those time slots throughout the week.
Oh, okay.
I think it's a great format.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I tell you what, that is.
Well, while you're at lunch, you don't want to hear, you might not want to hear me every day during lunch, You might want to hear somebody else.
Well, of course we want to hear you. I mean, who else would there be?
Let me go take that email back I sent earlier.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that.
You're welcome.
So, no, congratulations. That is
Thank you.
just absolutely fantastic. So, guys, go over there, check it out. September 30th, ORN, and give it a listen, program it on there, and just leave it on there and listen to these guys. He knows what he's talking about, and we're actually going to get into some fishing stuff because, yes, he is a captain. He has a charter business. He fishes. He's out on the water.
Got a boat.
So, guys, I see everybody here in the chat. If you've got questions, throw them in there, and I will pitch them out to Captain Bob. But I have got a couple to get us started out.
Go right ahead.
There was a subscriber who commented just a couple of days ago, and he said, no matter what species you're fishing for, do you always cast up current?
Well, geez, that depends on the technique, right? That would absolutely depend on the technique. If I'm fishing live bait, heck yeah, I'm going to cast it up the current and let it float down. Sometimes, if I'm able to position the boat, for example, flounder fishing, if I'm able to position the boat properly, I will cast down current and pull it upstream, right? Especially for flounder. I want my bait to be on the bottom. So, Chris, I think you know what my favorite flounder bait is. It's going to be that 3/8 jig head with my nice 4-inch shrimp. I'll say that 4-inch, nice 4-inch shrimp.
Yeah.
And I'm going to drag that across the bottom, pulling it up the current. So it really depends on the type of fishing. Popping cork, I'm throwing it up current and letting it float down.
Okay.
I hope that answers your question for you.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm pretty much the same way. Anytime that I am fishing, especially I'm going to say on a outgoing tide, and I'm setting up at a creek mouth, yeah, I'm throwing up into that creek and I'm letting it flush out like bait fish. Try to be as natural as possible.
Right.
So that's how I'm usually do it. Now, can I do that every time in my kayak when I'm pedaling around doing it? No. But I try to put myself into that position to make my lure look as natural as possible. So, I mean, that's about the best that you can do.
Sure. And where I'm fishing at, we're going to have maybe a little bit more current. We don't have the pockets to get into so much. I mean, we're going to be fishing, if we're fishing inshore, it's going to be in the intercoastal mainly, so we're going to have a pretty ripping current coming through one way or the other, but that will certainly make that determination for us.
Yeah. I'm actually going to be heading down to the Wando on Saturday, and I'm going to be fishing down there. I'm going to be targeting some redfish around some docks. And I pulled up the tide chart, and we're supposed to get an influx of almost 8 feet of water from 6:30 till noon. I mean, you talk about ripping current coming in.
Right.
I mean, it is going to be just moving. So, yeah, that's
Don't go too far from the ramp.
no. No, we're gonna go with the current, and then we're gonna flip back around. We're gonna come back down with yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, been stuck out there way too many times going against that current, and that's not fun. So, hey, Brian, good to see you, buddy. Okay, so another one. I always get this question, and I've been posing it to everybody who has come on. What is your favorite tide?
My favorite tide.
Incoming, outgoing, middle, top of the tide?
So I will say this. I'm going to answer the question, but I'm going to dance just a little bit. I really go for the majors and the minors, right? I'm looking at that first and foremost. But saying I've got a major and a minor, I prefer to have the outgoing tide.
Okay, I want to stop you before you do anything.
Okay.
Just so people know, can you explain majors and minors?
Okay. So the majors and the minors, that is based off of the lunar charts. And that has to do with where the moon rises and how that affects the tides. And during that moon phase there's going to be 2 times where they call a major fish activity time or major activity time. I say it's a major fish activity time, but a major activity time and a minor time. Both of those times will be what we call an elevated activity time for your, whether it's fish, whether it's deer, they are going to be more active at those times. The major time will be twice as long as the minor time. So, for example, a major might be an hour and a half or 2 hours long, and the minor might be 45 minutes to 1 hour long. So, when you're looking at your tide charts, you might see a lunar table there, and it'll give you fish activity time. It'll say major and minor. That doesn't mean, well, I want to fish just the major. You definitely want to fish both, because both of those are going to be elevated activity times. Just the minor will be a shorter time. Again, it might only be, well, it will be half the time of the major. Definitely those times you want to be out there. So while you're looking at your times and your tide flow, try to pick at least one time that you'll be out there, major or minor.
Yeah, I just noticed that the major on Saturday is going to be at noon, which is pretty much at the top of the tide. I mean, it's going to be high tide point. So I'm thinking a couple out, maybe an hour before, hour, right at the hump is pretty much what I'm thinking.
Yep,
So,
yep, absolutely. Yes, exactly right. That's
yeah.
exactly what you want to do. You definitely
Yeah.
want to be out there for that major time.
And I want to push up into some grass flats and maybe see if I can't catch some reds up on those grass flats. So
Yep.
that's kind of my plan.
And I think where you will be fishing, the reds that you're going to be targeting will be more of our slot size. I don't think you're going to be targeting more of the bull red, which is another subject if you'd like to talk about that,
Right,
and the
correct.
protection of the bull spawning red. But that they should be very active at that time.
Yeah, yeah. Why don't you go ahead and touch on the bull reds right now and their
Sure,
spawning time?
absolutely. In fact, I'll talk to our viewers here a little bit about the spawning redfish that we have in. In fact, a few weeks back, we had David Flad from Release Over 20 on, and I wanted to bring him on to talk about this. Obviously, when we've had him on before, we've typically talked about flounder and trout, but I really wanted to focus in on the redfish. Our slot redfish, and I'll say this, well, let me back up just a moment, but right now we're in the redfish spawning season, right? So we've got, August, September, and a little bit into October, when the redfish will come in. Our big breeders will come in from offshore. They're going to come into the jetties, or they're going to come in near shore, and you will be able to target them is with something as simple as a chunk of cut mullet from the beach, right? You can catch big bull red. Now, we would like for you not to do that, and I'm going to get into that right now. Our slot redfish that we have in the state of South Carolina, those slot redfish, they may be anywhere from 1 year on the small end, all the way up to 3 years old before they're out of the slot. Those slot fish never have had an opportunity to spawn yet. Redfish do not spawn until they become about 5 years old. And once they're out of our slot limit and they're big enough, now they've got the opportunity to survive. They're called survivors, and head offshore to be part of the breeding population. So when those big redfish come back in, we just want them to do their thing, August, September, and a little bit of October. Let them go, let them spawn, and they're still going to be there in October and November, right? We can still target the big bruisers at that point. But right now, I cannot stress enough, if we really can let those big breeders go, let them go. Now, Chris, where you're heading and the type of redfish you're going to be targeting, well, they're going to be our slot fish. That's fine. They're not going to be breeders and things like that. So those are the ones that are, if you're going to target redfish, those are the ones you want to target. But right now, I still see a lot of captains, because it's very easy to sell a day charter and going out there and just hammering big bull reds, you know. But once you take that redfish out of the water and you put it back in, that redfish, they may not want to spawn. And typically they may spawn 3 or 4 times. But after they're caught and released, maybe they're only going to spawn once. Maybe they're not going to spawn at all. We don't know. But we're looking to ensure that the replenishment rate is going to be there, of course, for everybody else that comes behind us.
Right, right. And you had one of the biologists on from SCDNR, and he was saying that our redfish population is starting to go down. So one of the things that we want to do is make sure that we are protecting and ensuring that those fish, when they're offshore doing their thing, spawning, laying all those eggs, that we give them a chance to do that to replenish the stock.
Right, absolutely. And that's, that was Matt Perkinson, one of the staff biologists with the South Carolina Department of Natural Resource. And he, actually was had some great information on that, and he has an article up at scwild.org, and that is the state of South Carolina's website where they put all their articles and blog posts up. He has a fabulous article about the spawning redfish there. Highly recommend it. Certainly go over and take a look at that. But I want to get back to something that you had mentioned after the episode that we had David Flatt on. One of the things that David had asked when we talked about it is, he'd like to come up with a kind of a niche phrase for maybe taking that month off, right? Taking August off. And well, I think you came up with something that was pretty good. So why don't you tell us what that was?
I was actually at work. I had my headphones on. I was listening to it. And so I was like, you know what? How close can you get to August? What even rhymes with August? So,
Right.
I just started running through it and I was like, well, what about No Harvest August? That's about as close as my little mind could think of,
See?
something about August. And
I like that.
that's what popped into it. And so what did I do? Shoot you a text or something? And I was like, hey man, this is what I came up with.
I think that's exactly it. And in fact, I know David will be seeing this, right? So, Mr. Flatt, if you're looking at it, No Harvest August, there it is. Dead Calm Outdoors. We've got something to work with.
No Harvest August. I don't know.
We've got something
It just
to work
doesn't
with.
quite roll off the tongue yet, but I don't know. It may catch on.
It might. I'm going with it because I have nothing else.
Yeah, exactly.
I've got nothing better. So that's the winner.
Right.
That's the point. But yes, that's the big kick with the breeding redfish. And in fact, I was a guest speaker at the Grand Stray and Saltwater Anglers Association last week, and that was topic of the conversation as well. They have a tremendous outreach, so the more that we can spread the word about letting the big bruisers go, then the better off we are.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, moving on. Moving into the fall. September going into October, November, all the way really through Christmas around here. This is probably the best fishing of the entire year. I look forward to the fall in October, November. All year long because it just seems like everything turns on. The worst fisherman in the world looks like a hero. Every YouTuber is now a hero. Yes, that's right. I'm going to be the hero. So going into the fall, give me 3 lures that you won't leave the dock without.
Okay. Are we speaking inshore?
Inshore, yes.
Inshore. 3 lures all day long. My number one is going to be the 3/8 jig head with a 4-inch white sparkly gulp shrimp. Number one all day long. 90% of the time, that's the first lure I'm throwing.
Okay.
Number 2, the Z-Man chatterbait. Just an eye strike chatterbait without a trailer. You can put on any trailer you want. That chatterbait, I love to throw that inshore around jetties. I love to throw that inshore around oyster beds. Now be careful, right? Because it's going to be a heavier lure. So you want to be certain, be confident with your casting on that. And the third is going to be the new, and you've got some, I've seen them. I saw your post. That Z-Man prawn stars. Come on, bust it out.
Here we go, boys.
Right there.
Yeah.
Those 3 baits. That's it right there. Yes, sir? Perfect. Those are going to be the 3 go-to baits. And one of my, gosh, I hate to say it's a secret bait that I throw around the jetties for reds, but it's that chatterbait. I'll put if you put a 5-inch trailer on that chatterbait, forget about it. Hang on, you're going to catch reds.
Are you letting that get to the bottom and jigging it, or are you swimming it like a bait fish?
I'm swimming that thing like a crankbait.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
I'm going to let it just get right under the water column, just getting under the water, and I'm just going to snap it through and let that thing click all the way. What fish do they love to eat that clicks like this? The shellfish.
Oh, okay. Yeah, shrimp. Yeah.
Right? So when shrimp are evading their prey, they're going to clap their tail and
Right.
swim away.
Right.
Well, that's what that chatterbait is going to mimic. So I'm going to let it go just under the water column, and I'm working it through.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, because I've heard it done both ways with a spinnerbait and a chatterbait, jigging off the bottom and using that flash and that thump off of the bottom, and then also, pulling it out of grass or swimming it just underneath. So,
Yep.
yeah, that's
I've
fantastic.
lost many chatterbaits trying to do that off the bottom. So if I'm going off the bottom, I have. So if I'm fishing off the bottom, I'm throwing that 3/8 ounce with my 4-inch Berkeley Gulp shrimp. That's my bottom.
Yeah.
But yeah, oh my gosh, there's nothing more disappointing than tying on that brand new chatterbait and getting it hung up on the bottom. And
Yeah.
we don't,
Yeah.
nobody likes that.
Yeah, my white chatterbait that I have, the head is not white anymore. It's all beat down to the gray lead.
Oh,
So
see?
yeah.
Yeah, nose to the grindstone.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, have you had a chance to throw the Prawn Star yet?
So I'm going to be honest with you. I've just got a fresh batch in, and yeah, we're gonna be doing some good stuff with them.
Okay.
How about you?
No, Saturday. Matter of fact, I've got
That's
it. I've got. I'm going to be throwing it on my new setup here.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I don't know if you can see it. So this is the new casting rod, and I've got it paired up with my Daiwa Legalis. So I've got that.
What do you have on
ready
there?
to go.
Trout eye? Was
What's
that a
that?
trout eye on there?
Yeah. Yep. It's 3/16.
Okay.
Sorry about that. I'm hooked on something. Little 3/16 with a 3-inch swim bait, a Z-Man, in Beer Run, I believe it is. Yeah, in Beer Run. So that's what I had tied on. Man, I am stuck on something here. This is.
It might be that nice eye strike hook. Mustad.
Yeah, exactly. Hang on here. What am I hooked on?
Look at your shirt. Nice.
What's that?
I
Oh
like your
yeah, I
shirt.
got my
We're over here busting out the Z-Man product.
yeah, exactly.
Daniel.
Yeah, with
We
the
had
Prawn Star and the
Daniel,
shirt, man.
I'm sure you know Daniel Nussbaum was on, the president of Z-Man. Gosh, when was that?
That was a week or two. Huh?
Yeah, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah,
last
2
week
weeks
was Ben from Cash and Rods. What a
Right.
great tour we had up there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was.
Blast.
Yeah, Captain Bob was nice enough to invite me to go up and take a look at that. Their whole setup with building these rods, wow! I mean, absolutely impressive, just impressive. So, in the next couple of days, look for a video that I've got all put together, and I'll be shooting that out. So, but man, it's all American made, high quality. Everybody in there was fantastic. I can't wait to throw it. Saturday will be my first time to get that thing out on the water and put it to a test. So yeah, I can't wait for that.
Well, I was surprised to see that type of manufacturing still happens here. I mean, it's local, right? It's up in Sanford. It's only 2.5 hours away from where you and I are.
Right.
But just absolutely amazing. They do everything in-house right there. Yeah. Can't believe it. I mean, all the way down to the grips. They make their own grips, created and fabricate their own grips. And what I like about it is the hybrid gimbal on the bottom. That's always nice.
Yeah, and you talk about perfectly balanced rods. I forget.
Oh, yes.
I think it was it the kayak series rod that it was balanced so right in the middle. And I mean, if you've never picked up a balanced rod before and hold this thing, and the handle's only 8 inches, and you've got 7 feet on the other end, and that thing holds perfectly straight. It is. I mean, the craftsmanship that goes into these is just it blew my mind. I've never seen anything like it. Somebody who goes to Bass Pro and picks up a rod off of the shelf, and we shake it and we're like, oh yeah, boy, that's really nice, and then yeah, exactly. We don't know what we're looking at, and the thought process that these guys go through to build these rods and to talk to professionals that they have on their staff, and they give them a rod and say, hey, beat it up, tell us what you want, tell us what you like, tell us what you don't like, how can we improve it? And they take it, and then they finally get it built and sit it out for people to buy, and these things just absolutely perform. They're just
Now, did you end up with one of the CK series? That's the Cash and Kayak series. Is that one of the ones you ended up with?
no. I did the Icon
Yep.
series. Yeah,
Icon Inshore. Yeah.
yep. It was the 7 foot medium light. So
Yep.
yeah, because honestly, I want to match it up against the TFO, and I
Makes
just
sense.
want to kind of
There you
see,
go.
sensitivity and whatnot. So I got the
Yeah.
same thing. Now I've got a medium TFO, but I also have that medium light, and I just want
Sure.
to. And I'm not taking my medium rod. I'm taking both medium lights, and I'm going to be throwing, prawn stars on both, and then switching them out. And I'm
Awesome.
going to be and just kind of seeing and
Good.
experimenting around a little bit, and so
Well, I certainly look forward to hearing that report.
well, you'll probably in about 10 days. Hopefully you'll see a video if I catch a fish.
Before that, geez, I'm already not your first guest. Now you're gonna make me wait 10 days.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah. All right. Yeah, I'll call you when I get off the water.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, another question. I don't see any questions in the chat box yet, guys. You guys are being awful quiet tonight.
Awesome.
Come on,
We've
get on
answered
there. Another
full info.
question. How long do you stay at a spot before you move?
Oh my gosh. So actually, I will let everybody know this. For I also am one of the certified saltwater fishing instructors for the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources. And I am very honored to be the host of the saltwater series that we do down at Bass Pro Shops. And a couple of months back, we just did another one. Well, in fact, yesterday. We usually do them every month at Bass Pro Shops. But a couple of months back, we did a seminar series, and this question came up. And when I gave my answer of 10 minutes, it blew their mind. The guy was 10 minutes, Yeah, I'm not sitting there with my cooler for 3 hours. Now, obviously, if I'm fishing inshore, we've got a lot of shoreline to cover. I am going to give it 10 minutes. If I am certain there's fish there, I will change my presentation, right? Maybe one or two more times. After that, spot number 2, 10 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe 15 if I'm really feeling that it's fishy. But honestly, I'd be moving on to another spot.
Yeah, I am right there with you. I am 10 minutes, like you said. If it looks fishy, if there's bait there, if I know that if I saw something moving off the grass line, and yeah, but that's about it. 10 minutes, like you said, 15, but I'm not staying there 30, 45 minutes. I'm not.
Yep.
One, I'm not wired that way. I'm a power fisherman. I move down a bank and I just keep going until I find another spot that looks good, and then I may camp out a little bit and paddle around a creek mouth, but stay in that creek mouth area, and then I'm moving on. Absolutely.
Well, and here's the other thing. We would all like to think that every time we catch a fish, oh my gosh, I am so sorry. Every time that we catch a fish, that, we've caught the school, we're in the school of fish. Well, probably 85–90% of the time, you're going to catch onesie twosies, right? You may have one or two fish here in this area, and then you're going to move down and find other fish. Flounder are famous for that. They may line up, they may line up down the channel, but they're not all going to be in the same pocket. You're not going to catch 20 flounder out of this hole. It's not going to happen. So you want to move around anyway. You're going to catch a couple fish here. You're going to move on down, catch a couple fish there. The exceptions will be, of course, schooling reds. And Chris, there's probably been some times when you've been out in the kayak, especially in Myrtle's Inlet, and you've come across a school of reds, and you're going to be able to catch 4, 5, 6 right out of that school.
Yep, and that happened last winter. Yep, last winter I got on a nice little school of reds, and they were all probably between 15 and 18 inches, and that was pretty much the size of the school. But yeah, that was a fun day. That was a fun day when you can get on those schools like that.
Absolutely.
But Tyler Robinson asked, Tyler, good to see you in here, buddy. He said, what type of knot do you use on the prawn star? So what type of knot are you going to use when you tie on your prawn star?
So what I do is, and I have some knot material here. I'm going to go ahead and show you. So I
See, I'm
actually,
learning things here, guys. This is what I need. I need to keep some rope in here. And
now I'm going to say I don't always use 1,400-pound tests, but just for this demonstration, I do. Now, for any of, let's say, depending on what it is, but I will say this for the prawn stars. The two knots that I like to tie for almost everything is going to be a uni knot, right? If you know the uni knot, they call it the uni knot because it's the universal knot. So if you know the uni knot, you could tie a uni to uni, so on and so forth. That and the Palomar knot. I love the Palomar knot because it gives you twice the strength around the eyelet. Now, let's talk about what I tie for my prawn star. I tie a double overhand or surgeon's loop knot. Okay, so I'm just going to take my line, make one loop. Hopefully you can see that, Chris.
yep, sure can.
And I'm going to tie a double overhand. So I'm going to go through once and twice. Right there. And now I have my loop. That loop is what I slide through the eyelet of my prawn star.
Okay.
Through the eyelet, over the back, and I cinch it right in.
Okay.
Now, if I want to change my bait and I want to put on one of my trout eyes, I don't have to retie. I just slide it off of the loop and put my new lure that I want to use on. Hopefully that works.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
That's
So I tie a loop knot.
yeah, I've never even thought about doing that. Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely.
That way it's easy, nice and quick. And, you can swap out lures if you need to really fast.
Yeah, yeah.
And you don't have to buy anything.
I'm doing just the old fisherman's clinch knot or a loop knot. That's pretty much. I'm not the best at the loop knot. My loops are all different sizes. I'll get a real nice little small one time, and the next time I'll get like an inch long. And I'm like, I thought I tied it the exact same way, and I was like, I don't know, man. So I'm the worst at it, but I keep trying to get better at it. And it's the only way you get better at it is just to keep doing it and try to get that knot and that little loop a little bit better.
I think one of the most challenging things for me was the uni to uni, because if you really think about it, I mean, you need to get that knot small enough and tight enough that it can get through that top eyelet, right? Especially on your inshore gear. Now, the offshore gear, we don't have as much of an issue, right? Forget the trolling gear, no problem, straight out. But the inshore gear, that knot needs to be small enough and smooth enough. You really got to cut that tag line nice and tight on that uni to uni. But honestly, that's probably the number one knot to know is the uni knot.
Yeah. I use the modified Albright, which is almost like, I'm going to say in layman's terms, maybe a half of an FG knot. So
You're getting fancy.
Yeah. So that's easy for me. I don't know why but it just is. I can almost tie it with my eyes closed.
Well, you know what? And that's the key. Whatever you are most comfortable with that sticks. Got to stick, right? If it doesn't stick, learn how to tie another knot. But if that knot holds and it's a fishing knot, use the one that you enjoy, the one that you're most comfortable with.
Right. And, and I stuck with that one because now being on the kayak and with the wind blowing and bobbing around on that little piece of plastic, man, I got to be able to tie something fairly quickly, and that's the one that I've just became the most proficient with. So, Tyler, I hope that helps. So,
Good question, Tyler.
yeah, absolutely. Well, guys, I usually try to keep this at about 30 minutes. We're actually at 40. So
Awesome.
I'm going to give it another minute or two. If you guys have another question, go ahead and throw it in there. But if not, Captain Bob, I am going to give you the last word. You can go anywhere you want. And last word is yours.
Well, first, again, Chris, I want to thank you very, very much for bringing me on DCO Live. I mean, how awesome is this? I am a radio guy, and now people get to see my my face. Now, my wife did say, of course, I've got the face for radio, so I guess we'll stick with that. But I do appreciate the opportunity to get in front of all of your viewers and your subscribers. So thank you for that, my friend. Now, for all of your viewers and subscribers, did I mention about something about the launch of the Outdoor Radio Network on September 30th on iHeartRadio?
Why don't you refresh our memory?
Just head on over to iHeartRadio. Of course, it's free for everybody. iHeartRadio, and just simply type in the Outdoor Radio Network, or ORN, or even Outdoors. It will be the only live radio station that has anything to do with the outdoors 24/7 that will be there. Again, it will be America's first, and we would love to have all of you on board. It will be very important for us to make sure that we get our outreach programs, the word for our outreach programs out there, as well as the conservation programs. We will need everybody's help to make that happen. So for everybody that's watching, we would love for you to become listeners on ORN.
Guys, go and check it out. Go and check it out. Captain Bob, really appreciate you. Thanks, buddy.
Yes,
guys,
sir, my friend.
Thanks again. We will see you next week. I don't know yet if I have that guest locked down yet. I'm not going to say anything, but I'm going to be reaching out to him here in the next couple of days. I'll give him the weekend. I'll bother him on Monday and see if he's ready to go next Thursday. So,
Awesome.
Captain Bob, again, really appreciate you. Stick around. Don't hang up. I want to talk to you after we kind of disconnect here. But guys, thanks again. We will see you next week. And again, if you think of a question during the week and you want to get us,
go get your Dead Calm Outdoor hat. Go get it.
Man. Hey, that's a good looking hat.
That's a great looking hat, right? Come on, I'm part of the club. I'll do it. I'll do it right there.
Yeah, man. So, guys, if you have any questions that you think during the week, and shoot them to me. I'll write them down, and we'll get right on the first thing next week. So, guys, I really appreciate you, and I will see you next time. Y'all have a great